What up, Buttercup? It's Caleb Jones, and this is Unchained CEO. We talk about how to build your own location-independent business that frees you from your 9-to-5 job and your collapsing Western country, and perhaps even moving out of your collapsing Western country, or at least setting up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. Getting right to the topic today. This is a popular one. You guys like this. I've mentioned this a few times. I've never done a deep dive on this. This is how I secure all of my online and digital data. This is cloud data, laptop data, phone, stuff on your phone. I'm going to go through in detail what I do to protect my stuff. I'm not a cybersecurity expert, and I'm sure that there will be some of you who are more knowledgeable about these things than I am. But I do have a tech background, an IT background. I'm a little out of date, but that's my background. So I'm literate enough. And also, I have been a public figure on the internet for what now? 15, 16 years now, something like that. And I have never had a problem or a major problem. We all have had problems, but I've never had a major issue of losing my data or getting hacked or things like that. I don't have a lot of haters, but I do have them. And I haven't had any problems, many major problems. The worst problems I've had in my past where I've had some DDoS attacks on some of my websites. That's happened a handful of times. But, you know, your website goes down for a few hours and it comes back up. And that's it. Didn't lose any data. And indeed, I've had scenarios where many years ago, I was the one who lived in the United States. I was working remotely at someone else's office and my laptop died. Hard drive crashed. Hard crash. I mean, I had to throw a laptop in the trash, basically. Ran down the store, got a new laptop, restored all my stuff. Everything was back within 2 or 3 hours. I was back in business, didn't lose a single piece of data. So I'm proven in this area, even though I'm not an expert in this area. But certainly, if this is an area of concern for you, you should probably consult an expert. You can take whatever I want as a grain of salt, because I'm not an expert. But, you know, I've had some good results in this area. So that's why I'll talk about it. First of all, top of the list, and this is a concept that many of you know if you know my topics, my content, and that is the 2% rule. So what's going to happen whenever I discuss this topic of internet security or cybersecurity or doing backups or encrypting your data, you're going to see this in the chat. You're probably going to see this in the comments of this video. You're going to see a few guys who go, Caleb, that's not enough. You can't just use 12, 15-letter passwords. You have to use 27-letter passwords. You can't just encrypt your hard drive. You got to triple encrypt it. You can't just use a VPN. You got to use VPNs everywhere. Oh my God. 2% rule, 2% rule, 2% rule. What is the 2% rule? If you don't know what that is, the 2% rule means if something has less than a 2% chance of occurring, then you don't worry about it and you proceed as if it never will happen, because it probably won't. So you have to understand that, and again, a lot of people, when we talk this topic, come at this from this standpoint. No one's going to break into your house in the middle of the night and jury rig your key in your lock, break in, steal your laptop, take it to some hacker center, and decrypt your BitLocker hard drive. That's not going to happen, bro. Less than 2% probability, so don't worry about it. Because you're going to get all kinds of, well, what if this happens, Caleb? It's not going to happen. 2% rule, 2% rule, 2% rule. I mean, I've had guys say, well, what if they, steal your hard drive and they take it to a hacker center and they decrypt your hard drive? What if, guys say, well, I don't use fingerprint, what's it called? Biometrics, like on your laptop or your phone. I don't use that because someone can steal my phone and then copy my fingerprint data and then they'll have my fingerprint. Okay. 2% rule, 2% rule, 2% rule. Here's the thing. You are not famous. No one gives a fuck about you. Okay. The FBI doesn't care about you. The CIA doesn't care about you. Joe Biden doesn't care about you. The Great Reset people don't care about you. The globalists don't care. They don't care about you. They don't give a fuck. They don't care about me. And I'm probably a lot more famous than you. And they don't give a fuck about me. And I'm an American expat. And they still don't care about me enough to do these things. So it's okay. You want to take common sense precautions, but you don't want to go fucking crazy as if you're the president of the United States. I'm sure Donald Trump has to take these kinds of precautions. Are you Donald Trump? No, you're not. So it's okay. You can take a deep breath and relax. Don't be fucking paranoid. Be prudent, not paranoid. I'm saying this because I know I'm going to see it in the chat or comments. Well, Caleb, you better do this because what if this happens? Oh, don't use your finger, but what if a dog bites off your finger and then you need to make an emergency call? All right. Second aspect of this is I consider privacy and security as two separate things and two separate issues. Because one of the concepts that people will say when I talk about these things, cybersecurity, personal security, is, hey man, as soon as you upload anything to the cloud, you got to say goodbye to your security, or privacy. Say goodbye to your privacy as soon as you upload anything to the cloud. If you put anything on Google Drive, if you put anything on Dropbox, if you put anything on, iCloud or iTunes, whatever the fuck, your privacy's screwed, bro. That's correct. It is. So we're not talking here about privacy. I just did a live stream about that a few weeks ago. We're not talking about privacy. We're talking about security. So, by the way, these guys who say you have no privacy on the cloud, they're right. So you need to have those level of expectations. Do I use Google Drive as a business tool? Yes, I do. However, I don't assume I'm having anything private on anything I put in Google Drive. I assume that assholes at Google are looking at all my stuff, or at least could look at my stuff. Again, I'm not famous. You're not famous. Google doesn't care about you individually. But I assume that they could pull up my private business Google Docs if they wanted to. I operated on that assumption. So, number one, operate on the assumption that anything you put to the cloud is not private. That's it. Now, are they going to look up your stuff? No, they don't care about you. They don't. Also, this also applies to any DMs you send on any platform. As you learn from what happened with Twitter a few years ago when Elon bought it, people were sending private DMs and Twitter employees were like screenshotting that shit. And okay, so any DM you send to anyone on social media, Instagram, Twitter, any platform, Reddit, or a private forum, someone has access to that information and you need to assume that they have access to it. Never send a DM thinking that this is private and no one will ever see it. That's stupid. And many of you, especially you men, are sending a lot of DMs or have sent DMs in the past that you wouldn't want to get out, but they're out there. They've got them. I'll give you a true story. I used to own, back when I was in the pickup artist world about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I owned one of the largest pickup artist forums in the pickup artist world. It's called Sedfast. It had several names. I didn't run the forum. A guy named Silvertree ran it. Good guy. And when PUA started going away, we shut it all down and we had the database backup for this forum. And there were there was a DM function in the forums, and there were a whole bunch of DMs in there from guys sending private DMs back and forth that we could have looked at. Now, Silvertree and I had a discussion about this, and it was his idea. God bless him. He said, hey, we're both libertarians. Like, look, for ethical reasons, what we should do is take the part of the database that is DMs, don't look at it, and immediately delete it. And we should never archive. We should delete it. And there were people saying bad shit about me. There were people saying bad shit about him because we knew this because of people. We were told this. We never looked. And that's exactly, I said, you're exactly right. That's exactly what we should do. We never looked at those. We deleted them. So I have no idea what was said about me in those DMs because those were private. However, Silvertree and I have morals and ethics. If we were the typical PUA assholes back then, we could have pulled up those DMs, screenshotted that shit, sent the code to people, and we could have embarrassed and fucked up a lot of famous pickup artists, some of which are the names of people you know. But we didn't do that. But these pickup artists were sending DMs on my forum software thinking that they were private and no one would see them, including negative shit about me. And I don't know that because I looked at them. I didn't look at them. I was told by other people, hey, this person said this about you. Send me a DM. And I'm like, yeah, I sure did. So just be aware. So many Instagram, one of you are saying, so many Instagram, Twitter employees seeing penises sent at DMs. Doesn't sound like a dream drop. Correct. By the way, we could have a bigger discussion about this. We won't. About WhatsApp, about Signal. The government's in all these things. Whatever you're sending to the women you're dating over WhatsApp and SMS, and yes, even Signal, things you think are Telegram, they can pull all this shit. So never assume any privacy. Over in my other channel, Alpha Male 2.0, I talk about how I live an open life in that there's nothing you could reveal about me publicly that would embarrass me. Matter of fact, the majority of the shit that I keep private, if it got out in the public, would make me look good. I mean that literally. It would be, especially for my other brand. It'd be really good for the Alpha Male 2.0 brand if it got out. So live a life where you're not worried about this. It's called outcome independence. I talk more about that over on my other channel. So if you live a life where you're not worried, oh, I hope no one finds out about this, well, then you're going to have a problem. I talked about this a few weeks ago when I had the live stream on privacy. So just assume that anything you put up on the cloud, including DMs, including Google Drive, is not private and someone else can look at that stuff. And if that's a huge problem, then guess what? Don't put it on the cloud. And that could be rule number one. This is what I follow. The things that I have digitally that I don't want anyone finding out, not because I think it'll make me look bad, it'll make me look good, but promises I've made and things like this, I don't put it on the cloud ever. Two things. I don't put it on the cloud. I don't put it on my phone. Ever. I have encrypted folders and encrypted things. I'll talk about those in a second. But if there's something I want to keep private, it doesn't go on the cloud ever, which means it's never emailed. If you emailed, it goes to Gmail. Now Google has it. You see my point? So if you want it truly private, it should never be on the cloud. Just make that rule. So there's a few things I've got that, I don't put on the cloud. Now, one thing you could do is you could encrypt shit and then put it on the cloud. I guess you could do that, but do you want to do that? Is that worth it? In terms of convenience, again, 2% rule, up to you. Okay. All right. So those 2 points, privacy and the 2% rule, before we get into the actual what I do. All right. So here's what I do. And again, I'm just a guy who's made all this stuff work. I'm no expert in this area. Number one, let's talk about backing up. Backing up your shit, which a lot of you aren't doing, which is stupid. One of my favorite fantasy fiction authors is Steven Erikson. He is the guy that wrote Malazan, Book of the Fallen, which I consider probably the best written fantasy series of all time. Better than Lord of the Rings, better than Game of Thrones. Not perfect. There are a lot of problems with it, but on overall, it's amazing. And he's like 10 books in that series. And I think the fifth or sixth, I think it was the fifth book. He wrote the entire book, or he got like 70% into it. These are big, thick books like Game of Thrones books. His laptop crashed. He lost the entire book. He worked on it for like a year. And he got depressed. I mean, it was bad. Back up your shit. I mean, I was an IT consultant saying this to people in the 90s. So this isn't new information. Back up your shit. So here's what I do. You can use any system you want. Here's how I back up my stuff. And like I said, I've had scenarios where my computers died and within a few hours, everything was back and I didn't lose a thing. Number one, use an automated backup software app. I use Carbonite. There are many of them. They're all good. Doesn't matter which one you use. I use Carbonite, where something that backs up all your stuff to the cloud, automatically. Now, again, if you don't want something to the cloud, exclude that from your backup and back it up a different way, which I'll talk about in a second. But if you don't mind it going to the cloud, because it will go to the cloud. Now, to be fair, the way these backups work is they are encrypted backups. And these companies will say, I don't know if it's true, but they'll say, our employees have no access to your data. We can't go in and decrypt your data because it's encrypted on our servers. Don't know if that's true or not, but again, don't assume it. First thing. Second thing, and I've seen people have left comments on my blogs who made this mistake. You don't install a backup app on your laptop or whatever and just, okay, it's running, okay, good, and just not worry about it. No, dumbass. You got to go in there and look at the settings in detail to see what it's backing up. Someone on our blogs reported years ago, oh, I don't use Carbonite. They lied to me. They said they were backing everything up, but they weren't backing up any of my video files because they're too large. So they automatically exclude them. Okay, what you should have done as soon as you installed Carbonite is gone into the settings and go through everything and see what it was back up, see what it wasn't. You can do that. That takes, 45 minutes, and you want to take that 45 minutes. And then you can actually add the video files or back them up some other way. So don't just trust the software is working. That's stupid. I have an IT background. I train people on this when I did network consulting. Number one. Number two, you got to do test restores every once in a while. Once every few weeks, go into Carbonite or whatever you're using and restore some stuff that's really important to a folder and see if it restores, see if it looks good, see if it's the right folder, the right date. You can read it, test it. Don't just say, oh, good, it's working and never worry about it. That's dumb. When I was an IT consultant many years ago, people used to back up stuff. Well, I guess they still do, to digital cassette tapes, digital tapes. So they back up their server and they would just assume their server was backing shit up. They'd switch tapes every night. Their server would crash. They'd go to restore the tape and there'd be nothing on the tape. Or the tape would be, that's not what happened. The tape would be 8 months old and they lost 8 months of data because no one was checking to see the backup was going off. No one was doing any test restores. Dumb. So don't just assume this shit's working, even though you see a little icon, a little happy little symbol spinning around. Oh, it's working. No. So that's the first thing I do. I have that going all day. Backs up my laptop. I exclude folders I want to exclude that I don't want on the cloud. Next thing I do is that on a semi-regular basis, I will copy my entire hard drive, the data folders, not the, I don't copy like my Windows folder. I use Windows 10. I will copy all of my data to a removable hard drive, and I have 2 of them. And I not split test, but swap backup. So I'll back up A, and the next time I back up, I'll back up to drive B, then drive A, then drive B, then drive A, then drive B, then I drive A, then drive B. Okay, and I'll do this. Let's see, about once a month, and whenever I travel. So whenever I travel a lot. So whenever I travel, on my little procedure before I leave town is I back up my whole hard drive to the removal in case my laptop gets crushed or trashed while I travel. So I have a copy of my data on the hard drive, plus I have a copy out in the cloud. Okay. Then the next thing I do is, I told you I have 2 backup hard drives that I alternate. One of those drives is always in a locked, fireproof safe in my home. Now, I've talked about this with safes. 2 things about safes. Number one, if you use a safe, and you should, in your home, it should be airtight. It should be waterproof. Why? Because when buildings light on fire, you idiots who still live in Los Angeles, the firemen come and they spray your house with water. And what'll happen is, this has happened many times, people have like documents or money in their safe. They'll blast the safe with water. Okay, they put the fire out, you open the safe, and your paperwork is all drenched because the water gets into the safe. So you need a hermetically sealed, I don't know what the term is, I think it's hermetically sealed, waterproof safe. When it locks, you hear like this shunk. It's airtight in there, which also means that you might need to have one of those little safe things. I don't know what they're called. I use them. You can order them on Amazon, where it takes the moisture out of the safe. If you don't do that, then what happens is the paperwork gets moist. So you have these little things full of these little pellets, and it turns into water, and you dump it out once a month. There's a procedure behind all this. I don't go into detail about this, but that's thing number one. Thing number two, aspect number 2 about safes is that you want to have your safe to be UL rated with at least an 1800 rating of UL, because that's the temperature of fire. You don't want a cheap safe where you have a fire in your home. It's the fire doesn't get inside the stuff in the safe, but it melts the shit in the safe because it gets so hot. If you're putting a hard drive in a safe that's kind of sensitive to heat, you want to make sure you have a decent safe. You don't need a big safe, but you want a good safe. Okay? So, let's see, what else I want to say about that? That's it. So I have 3 areas of backup for everything on my computer. So that's why if my computer crashes, I'm covered. I got it in the cloud, I got it on a hard drive, I got another hard drive. And worst case scenario, if the cloud backup doesn't work and the hard drive backup doesn't work, maybe I lose 3 weeks of data. Absolute worst case scenario, which has never happened. All 3 of those backups work fine because I test them all. Okay. Next thing, backing up your cloud data. So cloud data would be stuff that's already on the cloud. I have like 50 websites. I have blogs. I have WordPress stuff. I have a CRM system. I use Kartra. I use Basecamp. I use a lot of cloud-based services, SaaS services. Well, these things need to be backed up. Like all the to-do items and all the projects in my companies are in Basecamp. What happens if Basecamp goes out of business? I'm fucked. So you have to back that stuff up too. So a lot of you using web-based services, you're not considering, what if these companies go out of business? You need a local backup or a backup of this stuff somewhere else. So here's what I do. Once a week, there is an automated procedure. I had my tech guy set this up, where it takes all my website stuff from all my servers and it backs it up to a cloud storage company. There's about 20 of them. I'm not going to say which one it is. I can't say publicly some of these services I'm using for my own security. Okay, that's something else. That's something else. Don't brag about your shit on the internet. There's a reason you don't know how much money I make. There's a reason you don't know what my net worth is. There's a reason you don't know how many women I've had sex with. I don't talk about these things. So food for thought. Do whatever you want, but I don't talk about these things. So anyway, where was I? Oh, these all get backed up, automated once a week. Is it once a week or every day? It might even be every week. I don't remember. It's once a week or once a day. I don't remember. You can tell I'm not involved in these area of my business. Once a week, once a day, it backs all this shit up to a big, giant, compressed, encrypted zip file that goes on a storage software, storage cloud storage facility. Okay. It's automated. Now, there's some aspects of this that cannot be automated. Some services you can't back up. So I have a guy that manually goes in once a week, and he follows an SOP, standard operating procedure, where he manually copies and backs up certain things from Kartra and Basecamp and shit like that. And then he puts that also on that cloud service. So everything is all backed up in this big folder I have in this cloud service. Okay. And there's many of them. You can use, this is not the service I use, but you can use Amazon S3. It's fine. There's a billion of them. And they just charge you based on how much data you're using. It's really cheap. So now that's the cloud. What happens if the cloud collapses? What if there's solar flares? What if the cloud backup company goes out of business? So I need another offline backup of that. So once a month, someone on my team copies that zip file, that gigantic backup, down to a local hard drive. And it takes a long time because it's many, many, many gigs. So now we have a once a month local offline backup. And again, tell me if you guys can hear me. I'll wait. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. So anyway, it's the exact same model I use with my personal data, with my business data, a cloud-based backup that has an offline backup once a blank. Okay. All right. Okay. Security on my laptop. Here's what I do. First of all, I use a fingerprint biometrics on my laptop. I buy a nicer laptop, so I'm able to do that. I strongly recommend you do that. I use fingerprint. I do use the Windows 10. I use Windows 10, whatever Windows you use or Mac, you can use the equivalent, where I encrypt the entire hard drive. Windows 10 uses a system called BitLocker. I have that encrypted, so it unencrypts every time I boot it. And so if someone were to take my laptop and they didn't have my password and they didn't have my fingerprint, they would just get a chunk of shit. They wouldn't be able to read anything on my hard drive. Again, 2% rule. Well, they could decrypt it if they give it to the CIA, Caleb. 2% rule. 2% rule. That's not going to happen. Deep breath and relax. I have certain folders of certain things that I do want to keep private. Things related to my investments and my personal life. These are the things that if they got out, it would make me look good, but I make promises. So, for example, I've dated a lot of women in my past. Not going to talk about that here. You can look at my other channel. I have photos of pretty much all these women. And I have video and audio in terms of me and these women that they took. Yes, with permission. They took most of this stuff. 99% of this has never been on the cloud and never will be. It's in private encrypted folders, most of which are offline, not even on my laptop. What is on my laptop is encrypted with third-party software. The individual folder is encrypted. It is excluded from any backup. It never goes to the cloud and it never will. So that's what I was saying earlier. If you do want to keep stuff private, and it's on your hard drive, make sure it never gets to the cloud and encrypt it separately. Let's see here. You can use third-party software to encrypt certain folders. You can encrypt them / password protect certain folders. You can also use an easy way to do this too. I've done this before is using WinZip. You can create a zip archive that's encrypted with a password. So instead of using a folder, you just have a zip archive and you drag files in there and it's password protected. You can use that too. I've done that before also. Phone security. I use an iPhone. What do I have? An iPhone 14 Pro Max. I'm looking at it right now. It's the camera when I do these live streams. I have the facial recognition feature on there where it has to look at my face to unlock it. And I use the normal passcode. It's all the usual iPhone stuff. Here's my rule. Most people do not do this. The vast majority of humans do not do this. I know for a fact, but I do this. If I want it 100% private, it never goes on my phone. Because all these people put all their shit on their phone. A lot of people, men and women both, put their entire lives on that phone, including super private shit. I mean, sexual shit, private shit, personal shit, financial shit, and they put it all on their phone. And then they worry the rest of their lives, what if someone steals my phone? I don't need to worry about this because there's nothing private on my phone. There's some stuff on there, but again, if it got out, I wouldn't care. It may make me look good. So I don't keep anything. That's my rule. I don't keep anything private on my phone. Plus, Apple and Android have these systems where they automatically upload that crap to their own thing, like to Google Drive or to Google Photos and iCloud and all this crap, and you got to turn it off. And what if you don't turn it off? And all that shit. I understand it. So my rule is, if I want to keep it truly, truly, truly private, 2 of you are reporting that you ordered my book and you haven't seen it yet. First, please check your spam. 80% of people saying, I never got my ebook. Check your spam. Oh, there it is. Please check your spam. Click all mail. Please check that before you bug us. If you still have done that, send an email to theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com. That's my customer service, and tell them, and then we'll hook you up. Where was I? So I don't keep anything private on my phone. If anything ends up private on my phone, because sometimes it does, sometimes people text me stuff or I get stuff or whatever, I take a picture, okay? I get it off my phone as soon as it gets on there. And then I empty the trash, and then I make sure it wasn't synced to the cloud. Doesn't happen very often, but it happens. Okay? So that's what I do. I know so many people. Boy, do I know a lot of people, men and women. If someone got their phone and was somehow able to get past their password or, hold it up to their face, or they don't have a password, whatever, these people would be in big trouble. They'd be very embarrassed because of all that shit on their phone. Some of them would lose money. There you go. Let's see. Next thing. Passwords. How do I manage passwords? I use a password management app. There's about 20 of them. I'm not going to tell you which one it is because I can't do that publicly. That'd be dumb of me. But there's apps like, I have some listed, like Bitwarden, Keychain, NordPass, Dashlane. There's like 20 of them. They're all good. It doesn't matter. But it keeps all your passwords stored in an encrypted thing from a master password, which is what I do. And it's a master password that only exists in my head. I have never written it down anywhere, ever, and I never will. It's a long, weird password that exists in my head. Ideally, you should probably change it occasionally, and I do. So I use that. Then on top of that, what if they go out of business? What if this? What if that? Offline copy or everything. So I have an Excel spreadsheet with all my passwords that's password protected on my encrypted hard drive with a password, a different one that only exists in my head that I've never written down or typed in anywhere. Unless when I'm unlocked the spreadsheet itself. Okay. So that's what I do. And so that way it's a backup to my passwords. And sometimes, you'll have passwords that where the password app won't capture the password because of the nature of how the browser works. So I have a backup just in case. Next thing, some basic precautions that I take is I spend a lot of time traveling and a lot of public places, a lot of airports, and I work on my laptop in airports. My standard operating procedure is I don't do any online banking or any crypto or any financial transactions of any kind or looking up any financial stuff when I'm in an airport on a public Wi-Fi. When I'm on a public Wi-Fi, I don't do that. If I absolutely have to do that, usually I don't, then I'll use one of my VPNs, which we'll talk about in a second. So I just make it a policy when I'm working in an airport or any public Wi-Fi where there's lots of people around, if it's some little public Wi-Fi in a little coffee shop in a little town somewhere in Oklahoma, you're probably okay. But if you're in, LAX or you're in Heathrow Airport on their Wi-Fi, yeah, you don't want to do a lot of financial shit because that could be a problem. So I just don't do that. VPNs. I use several VPN softwares. I'm not going to tell you which ones because I can't talk about that publicly. But here's a few. Well, I shouldn't even name them. I can't even name those. Well, okay, ExpressVPN is good. There's a bunch of them. There's NordVPN, which is, a lot of people advertise that. There's a whole bunch of them. The best VPNs are the ones that are not located in the Western world, or at least not in the United States, Europe, Canada, collapsing trifecta companies. There's a few that are Scandinavian that are pretty good, where they don't keep track of, they don't keep any logging. Those are the best ones, but they all work. They're all fine. By the way, if you travel internationally, you need to use VPNs. You're going to have to. In Dubai, I have to use VPNs for certain things. It's really funny. The charity that I donate to every month blocks traffic from Dubai for some reason. So I have to VPN to get to their website to give them my money. Thanks, guys. It's big brothers, big sisters. But anyway, so then also I completely avoid using all mainstream browsers. I do not use Microsoft Edge. I do not use Chrome. I do not use Firefox. None of these are good for privacy and security. Firefox used to be about 10 years ago, and then they shit the bed. And they went woke, and they fucked it all up. So no, Firefox is not a secure browser anymore. I have these browsers on my laptop because sometimes I need to use them. I have to, and I have no choice. So I use them when I have to. But I don't. I use browsers like Brave and Vivaldi. Those are two browsers I spend 95% of my time in. Brave and Vivaldi. And if I have to use one of the mainstream browsers, I will. But those ones are better for security, better for pop-ups, better for privacy. Are they perfect? No. Can't expect anything perfect when you're on the cloud. You can tweak Firefox for if you're a techie nerd, you can take Firefox and tweak the fuck out of it and put a bunch of add-ons and make it private. Or you can just use Brave and then you don't have to worry about it. But it's up to you. Let's see. Last one, passwords. I used to use a cipher for my passwords. Those don't work well anymore because people can hack ciphers and AI can hack it. So now I use long 15-character plus passwords, always from a password generator. There's a Symantec or Norton password generator that works. A lot of these password apps will have a password generator in there. You click a button, it just gives you this crazy password with like characters. The problem is it's hard to type on your phone, but it's worth it. So I do that. Again, nothing's 100%, but that's what I use. And that's it. Quick announcement, and I'll answer your questions. I kept it nice and simple today. Really quick, most of you know about this. You've got a few days left. Freedom Fortress is my new book. It talks about how to protect yourself from the collapse of the Western world, what is coming with AI. It covers your location-dependent business. It covers finance. It covers 5 flags. It covers a lot of different areas. I go deep into AI about it. I go deep into Western collapse. I talk about business, 90-day business builder stuff, everything. www.caleb.top/freedom is where you want to go if you want the book. There's the book, there's the PDF, the EPUB, which you can use in Kindle, and there's the unabridged audiobook in my voice. You can also do part of the training I'm doing on Saturday. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm not going to go through all these things here. Fortress model, how to legally slash your taxes, 5 flags, how to make more money during Western collapse, how to take advantage of Western collapse. I talk about the fastest growing industries, fastest growing trends, where to start your business, in what area to focus your business. I talk about that. I go into detail about all the statistics about Western collapse. I go all in on this stuff. best places to live, how to customize a custom plan for you in terms of where you want to live, in terms of your non-Western country, or setting up your national backup plan if you want to stay in the United States. PDF, EPUB, and Kindle, unabridged audiobook in my voice. It is not available on Amazon, although I've heard from one or two of you that it is now available on Amazon. Okay, it might be. It might be now. I don't think it is. And my understanding is it's not available on Audible yet, but it will be soon. When is soon, Caleb? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Audible and Amazon are very slow. What I'm also doing this Saturday, what is the date this Saturday? That is what? Let's give a date. February 22nd. I am doing a 5-hour training workshop. I've never done this before. I've done online trainings, but they were like an hour and a half, and then Q&A. This is 5 hours where you're going to spend with me on Saturday. If you can't make it, you will get the recording, so it's okay. If you show up, you will still get the recording. I go into the Fortress model, customized to you. Now, let me explain how this works, because there was some confusion about this. This is a customized plan for you. Caleb, does that mean I'll leave with a customized plan? Yes, because this is not a thing where I sit and I talk to you and you listen passively. This is a workshop. So I'm going to teach you some stuff, show you some things. Then I'm going to say, okay, guys and gals, get out a piece of paper or a Word document. We're going to do an exercise now. I'm going to go through things like customizing your battle plan for your fortress, customizing the best countries for you, customizing an international plan for you, all this stuff. We do it live on the call. So yes, at the end, you'll have a customized plan for you. And if you can't do the live call, it's 11 a.m. EST this Saturday. If you can't do it because of time zones, you're busy, you get the full recording and you can do it at your convenience. Fortress model, exact blueprint, makes $7,000 to $13,000 per month in a location-dependent business. Exactly where to move to set up a backup flag, or to where, move or set up a backup flag if you don't want to leave the United States yet, or UK. What country works best for you? Or do you have a list of about 22 of them? We go through all of them. Why the AI revolution will reshape money, jobs, and power. How to protect yourself from collapsing economies. How to become invisible to governments, and financial predators. Those of you who have assets, those of you who already have money, how to protect. We're going to talk about asset protection. We're going to talk about corporate structures. We're going to talk about online trusts. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. If you have no money, we'll talk about that too, how to make the money. So this is for everybody. Made this kind of wide open for everybody interested in these topics. Saturday, February 22nd, 11 a.m. EST for 5 hours. You will get the video recording regardless of if you show up or not. Some people said, so if I show up, I don't get the recording? No, you get the recording no matter what. You also get the book for free. We just throw it in for free. You get the EPUB, the PDF, and the unabridged audiobook. You get those for free as soon as you sign up. $147. I used to do online trainings for this price point that were an hour. This is 5 hours, $147. Go out and find another online training in this niched area with this level of stuff for 5 hours that costs $147. You won't. I kept this very, 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 very cheap for you guys. You know what I wanted to charge for this? You know what I wanted to charge for this? $697. That's what I wanted to charge for this. $697. $147. Because I'm full of sweetness and love. Your deadline to sign up for this is Friday night at midnight EST. It's February 21st. After that, you cannot get access to it. You will not be able to get the recording ever. Caleb, will you ever sell the recording? Probably not. And if I do, I'll sell it for like $1,000. So your deadline, this is one of those things where I've talked about this before, and these offers I make. You're dumb if you don't do this, if this applies to you. If this applies to you, you're dumb if you don't do this. $147. Why would you not do this if this applied for that low price point? Unless you're literally homeless, and you know you're not. So you go to www.caleb.top/ff training if you want to just go right to the training. If you just want the book or the training, you go to www. You have to type www. I'm sorry. Caleb.top/freedom. And you have all three options there. The book, the audiobook, and or the training. You pick what you want until Friday night. And then that's it. One more quick thing. Those of you who know what this is, some of you don't, some of you do. Alpha 2.0 Apex. Some of you aren't eligible for this program, but some of you are. You know who you are. If you are, you've gotten the emails, you got notifications. If you want to join us for that program, that's where I work with you personally for 8 weeks. Your deadline to sign up for that, I can't tell you the website, but you know what it is tonight, midnight tonight. You can sign up tomorrow, but you lose your discount. I think the discount's $400. Yeah, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, buy the book, and then you'll get access to this if you want to do it. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, buy Freedom Fortress and or the training, then you'll get some emails that talk about something else. Your deadline to sign up for that is with the discount is tonight, Monday night tonight. You can sign up after that for a while, but you won't get the discount. You've already received the email invite. The deadline is February 17th to get your discount. Right. Cool. Okay. I won't talk about that further. All right. Coolness. Okay. I'm going to answer your questions. Hang on a moment. No ransomware for you. Good. So many Instagram, Twitter employees. Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you believe companies like Apple, when they claim they cannot see or access certain things? Like a few years ago when they wouldn't unlock criminals' iPhone for the FBI. You know, I loved that. I was very happy that they did that. Very proud of Apple. I have a lot of problems with Apple, but very proud of that. Do I believe them? I mean, as a general policy, do I believe Apple specifically? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. But as a general policy, I would assume they can see everything. That's what I said earlier. It goes to the cloud. Assume it's not private. Just make that assumption, then you're covered. If you say, well, they promised it's private, so here's all my private shit that I hope no one will ever see, that's dumb in the modern era. What are your thoughts on BRICS? I live in a BRICS nation, so I have lots of thoughts on BRICS. And how will it affect my location-independent business? Will BRICS nations flourish? Some will flourish and some will not. Just because they're part of BRICS doesn't mean they'll flourish. Dubai will flourish. Yes. Will Brazil flourish? No, but they're both in BRICS. So it's not whether or not they're in BRICS. It's each individual nation there are stupid nations in BRICS and there are smart nations in BRICS. I mean, South Africa's in BRICS. Are they going to flourish? No, they're fucked. So it depends. Will India flourish? Yes. It's not because they're in BRICS. So if you want to focus on a country for your location-independent business, focus on a booming country, a growing country. I live in two of them, United Arab Emirates and Paraguay, two growing countries. I don't like living in collapsing countries. That's why I left the United States. I have an NAS system. Is that something less secure than an external hard drive for backups? NAS. Remind me what that is. I don't remember. I heard that term. NAS. I don't remember what that is. You can tell I'm a little out of the tech stuff. I'm not sure what that is. Tell me what that is. If you have not received my book, I told you what to do earlier. Watch the replay of the video. For many of us, our business income alone won't get us to fortress net worth figures. Well, then you raise your income. And or you wait. You don't have to get to net. You don't need to get fortress net worth this year. Remember I talked about you have 10 years before the 10 years of brutality. You got about 10 years-ish. Maybe you have 7. So that's an incorrect statement. I know you can't too specific here, but what are your resources you recommend to learn high ROI investing? Investing won't get you there. That's not my view. What will make you rich is your business, not investing. Investing will not make you rich. It won't. Well, I know this guy, a Bitcoin. You know a guy. I know. I'm talking about in general, investing will not make you rich. Investing preserves your wealth. It does not 10x your wealth. Your business will 10x your wealth. So I don't agree with your premise. Then, yeah, someone right below you just told you the same thing. Great. Since Trump started cutting out government spending heavily, you are incorrect. He is not cutting spending heavily. He's not cutting it heavily. Someone on my blog said, Caleb, Trump just cut 20,000 jobs. See, he's cutting government. Do you know how many jobs the federal government has in the United States? Over 4 million. And those are just employees. You know how many contractors they have? Somewhere around 6.8 million. So what? It's 9 million jobs and you're getting a boner about 20,000. So Trump is not cutting heavily. And Musk is involved. This affects financial aid, public federal services like forestry. Would he also cut veteran benefits like education? I don't think he'll cut veteran benefits because he's a Republican. I doubt it. But he's not cutting very much stuff. I wouldn't worry about it. America will still collapse. Is your book available on Audible yet? Not yet, but soon. Thoughts on Elon having another baby? Yeah. I was just talking to someone about this. Why do you think he keeps on having babies in his 50s? What do you think is his motivation? I've discussed this on my blogs. When you have unlimited money, it doesn't matter how many babies you have. I did a blog post many years ago on what's the girl's name in Titanic? What's the actress's name in Titanic? Give me the actress's name in Titanic. I'm drawing a blank. It's on the tip of my tongue. What's the actress's name in Titanic? What's her name? Oh, fuck. What is it? Kate Winslet. Thank you. Kate Winslet. There was a big red pill thing many years ago. Kate Winslet has 3 babies from 3 different men. What a slut. And I'm like, I wrote a big article about this. Kate Winslet is a world famous multi-gazillionaire. She could have 12 kids from 12 different men and she's perfectly fine. And the kids will probably be perfectly fine. So if you have trillions of dollars, I'm exaggerating. If you have billions upon billions of dollars, do you care about how many kids you have? Do you care about things like birth control? Do you care about getting chicks pregnant? Would you care? If you had $300 billion, would you care? No, you wouldn't care. Most of you, now a few of you would care. I'd like to think I would care, but most of you are like, whatever. So he doesn't care. And he doesn't need to care. You and I need to care. Especially if you live in the Western world, you got to pay child support and she owns your wallet for 18 years. That's bad for you. Is it bad for Elon Musk? No. If he has to pay her $100,000 a month in child support for the rest of his life, does he care? No. So again, I've said many times, these billionaires and ultra-level celebrities, they don't live in the same planet that you and I live on. Live in a whole different world. The rules are different for them. I've talked about many times. Is the longest financing period for a 90-day business builder just 12 months? Yes. Is a longer period possible if needed? No, and you're damn lucky we're giving you 12 months. Careful with VPNs. Check the privacy policy of the companies. Proton is great, but banned in some countries because of its high encryption. You're leaning into 2% rule stuff, but I don't disagree. Brave and what? Vivaldi. The 2 browsers I use are called Brave and Vivaldi. I love both. They're great. Do you think anything space related can be a niche with 90-day business builder? We would not recommend that. We don't recommend very difficult, high barrier to entry niches like space and aerospace. So no, we would recommend against that. Because services wide would be likely just be to business. We like business to business. We encourage that in business builders. That part's good. And your clients are extremely niched. Niched is good, but not all niches are good. Some niches are terrible. Banking is a terrible niche, just a hard niche. So space would not be a good niche. No. Can you trust free VPNs on a PC? I wouldn't. I would not. I would trust a paid VPN from a company I did research on. Not sure if you mentioned it, but I recommend using 2-factor authentication whenever it's available. Great idea. I did not mention that. Thank you. Use 2-factor identification with an authenticator. Yes, I do that. I do that for all my crypto stuff. Yeah. 2-factor identification. Thank you. Idris C. I did not mention that. Very good idea. Yep. By the way, I have to be out of here in exactly 12 minutes at the top of the hour. So just to let you guys know, what time is it? Yeah, 10 to 12 minutes. I got to be out here. So if I don't answer all the questions, I apologize. I'll do the best I can. I know you're more towards business, but are there any jobs you would recommend specifically while saving up and transitioning into a 90-day business builder? I wouldn't worry about the nature of the job. Just get a job to pay your bills because the job's going to be temporary. I wouldn't waste any of your time trying to find a, quote, good job that you're going to quit in a year or less because you're going to start your own business. Just get a job that's a brainless job, enough to pay your bills. That's it. Don't worry about the quality of the job. Is maritime industry a good industry for a business for the future? That's too broad. Depends on what niche inside the maritime industry. Can you get into a niche you're new to but have skills elsewhere? Yes, because you can hire people on Upwork to do the actual deliverables. The answer is yes. Have you changed niches before after having built a business since you may no longer be fulfilled or doing as well. Not only have I done that, you will do that over time. I've been self-employed for 25 years. Am I doing the same thing in my business as I was doing 25 years ago? No. Every 5, 6, 7 years, I pivot. Absolutely. And you will too. In the changing world in which we live, you can't do the same thing. I will not be doing the exact same thing I'm doing in my companies 7 years from now. I will not. Trust me. It'll be very different. It might be similar, but it'll be different. So absolutely, you have to do that. Just bought the book. Can't wait to receive it. Cool. Caleb, but what if I'm jobless rather than homeless? A lot of jobs take a few months to save up unless you went to... I already answered that question. Did you know any people who were engineers or environmental consultants that did well in terms of making a location-independent business related to their knowledge or skills? Yes. Several people in Business Builder were engineers and made a lot of money. Yes. New here, my intuition is telling me I will need to get my family out of the U.S. sooner rather than later. It's not just your intuition. It's called facts. You're right. Yes. If they want to go. If they tell you to fuck off, then that's your problem. Or should I say their problem? You have to leave them. But yes. I will start with the book. Thank you for taking on this topic. You're very welcome. I address family issues in Freedom Fortress directly. What about my family? What about my mom, my dad, my brother, my little sister, my cousin? I address that in several different chapters. How to handle family in terms of this issue. So that's great. Would you recommend moving to Japan or Iceland? Iceland's European. I don't like Europe. Japan's okay if you really love Japan. You better really love Japan, though, because they won't love you. They're a little racist in Japan against whitey-whiteys. But it's a cool place. I'm getting my taxes done this week. I'm pissed about how much I'm going to owe. Where do I start with reducing my taxes? No, without moving out of the country, you start your own business and you run as much expenses through your business as you can, which makes them tax deductible. And you have 3 years to make a profit if you do that under American law. That's you start right off, start an LLC. You don't have to start an LLC. Start a business checking account and start running as much stuff you can that, not as everything, don't run your groceries through there, but as much expense as you can through that, then you'll save taxes on that right there. Medical waste disposal services, is that a good niche? That's too broad, a little more narrow, then yes. It's your principle of kids are for the rich. Correct. What he's mentioning is, I've talked this many times, in the modern collapsing era and in the Western world, if you're outside the Western world, this doesn't apply. But if you live in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, having children, especially many children, that is only for high income, high net worth men. If you're the average guy, you make fucking what, $45,000 a year, and you have no real net worth, you can't afford to have kids and raise them properly in the collapsing Western era. Now, if you move to Paraguay, move to Southeast Asia, South America, some other places, sure. You live in the United States? No. So yeah, that's exactly right. And no one wants to hear that when I say it. And tradcons get very pissed off. But as I've said many times, you Westerners, especially you Americans, and you Germans and British, and kind of you Canadians, you have been voting for the lesser of two evils for 40 fucking years. When you do that, you make it too expensive to have children, and you collapse your cultures and your economies. This is on you. How do you structure an agreement with a monthly paying client to make sure it doesn't become another full-time job? How many clients can be juggled this way? I can't answer the second question because it depends on the nature of your service, the nature of what you're doing. So I have no idea. You limit the time per week you spend on every given client account, and you make that clear in the deliverables. You don't say, I will work X. You say, here's what I'm going to do for you in a given month. You don't say, I will work X number of hours. It's not a job. And you just make sure you cap client time. I've had to do that myself. What made you discontinue your Uruguay residency service? We didn't discontinue it. We never started it because you have to live in Uruguay in order to get residency there. So Uruguay is not a good backup plan. It's a good place to move to. It's a good relocation place. If you want to move to Uruguay, it's awesome. But most of my audience are not going to move to Uruguay. They would use it as a backup like Paraguay. You can't do that because you have to live in Uruguay, I think, for 14 months to get residency there. So that's why. Day trading as income. It can work. I don't recommend it, but it can work. Do you do meditation? Yes, every day. Is spirituality also a niche you would consider as good or bad? Spirituality is not a niche. It is a massive industry. That is not a niche. Okay, investing preserves wealth. Business makes you rich. Got it. I'm thinking of that 10-year time frame to get to 2.5 million, which just saving, you'd have to save about $20,000 per month, right? No, because you're wrong, because your income goes up every month. No, so that's not correct. Your income's not going to be the same forever, right? So initially you'll have to save less, and later you won't have to save as much. Your income's on a growth curve. Do you think basically any niche, oh, by the way, you could have other assets besides stuff you save. That's a very complicated discussion, though. Do you think basically any niche can work if it's specific enough? No, there are many niches that are bad niches. We talk about this. Join 90-Day Business Builder and we talk about this. We'll tell you which ones are bad. And when you save us, we say, hey, I want to do this niche. No, that's a bad. Someone just said space. That's not a good niche. Banking, not a good niche. My bank is not a niche. Anything in banking. So no, there are many niches that are bad. Family for me is husband and children. So no leaving them. Right. Those have to come with you. Correct. But they understand this has been a conversation for a bit and we have the resources. Great. That's fantastic. Excellent. Does the location of the clients more suited towards a niche more than others? Like European-based clients compared to American? Depends on the niche. It's a very broad question. Depends on the niche. Is Thailand overrated? Depends on what you like. I don't like Thailand. My son loves Thailand. Some people love Thailand. Some people hate it. So is Thailand overrated? It depends on the person. I love Dubai. Some people hate Dubai. I love Paraguay. Some people hate Paraguay. A lot of people love Dubai. They come here like, holy shit, and they move here immediately. Some people go, oh, I hate cities. I hate Dubai. So it depends on you. All right. A few more questions and I got to go. Hi, Caleb. Do you think an hour of cold calling is a good start with a location-dependent business? That's not a good start. First, you niche. Then you do niche research. Then you determine their biggest problem. Then you come up with a coaching, consulting, or service to address that exact problem. Then you price it at a high price point for the margin in terms of what they get. Then you cold call. So that cold calling for an hour or whatever, a cold hour, is step 6 or 5, not step 1. No. But once you have all that, yes, cold calling's awesome. Yes, do it. How did your nude cock sex tape leak on the internet? It didn't leak. Someone asked me to put it up there and I told her yes. Did you get hacked or something? No, I purposely said it was okay. A woman asked me, can I put this somewhere? And I said, yes, go ahead. It was purposeful. How do you keep a clear and level thinking mind? A number of things. Number 1, 8.5 hours of sleep every night. That's what I do. 8 hours, 7 hours. Number 2, exercise hard every 48 hours. Hard. Clears your head. Oxygen to the brain. Number 3, meditate. I meditate every day. Number 4, clear objectives. Plan your week, plan your days. Number 5, remember that to focus on the now. You only live in the moment. You don't live tomorrow or next week. You're all worried about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. You don't live tomorrow. You live right now. What banking service do your Canadian clients who move to Paraguay use? Banking service? We don't offer a banking service. I don't understand what you mean. You need to close bank accounts to cut ties. We don't have a banking service. I don't know what you're referring to. I'll be joining 90-Day Business Builder. I'm just saving up the cost of entry of the month. Thank you. You're very welcome. Hi, Caleb. Are there good niches within massage therapists, cleaning services, and hotels, Airbnb? Cleaning services is my favorite because we like niches that will always have to be there, like roofers. You'll always need roofers. Even when AI takes, you'll need roofers, right? So I like cleaning services. Massage therapists, maybe. Hotels, Airbnb, maybe. Depends on the niche. Don't love it. I bought the book a few days ago. It's still no book yet. I answered that question already. Check your spam. Send an email to theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com. Stop asking the same question over and over again. Does 90-Day Business Builder include running ads? If you want to, yes. If you can afford to run ads, yes. The third aspect is marketing, and we have a paid path and a free path. So if you have no money, you have a separate path. We don't run ads. If you have money, you run ads. Correct. If you want. I think I got it. Since you'll be accumulating assets, it's not just about saving or buying a farm in Paraguay, for example, would grow your net worth. For example, yes. And your income will go up every quarter. Your income won't stay the same when you have a business. That's when you have a job. I mean, what banks do they switch to when they leave Canada? Well, there's about 3 or 4 we recommend. And I don't want to get into detail on that publicly. It's 3 or 4 in Paraguay, and there's pros and cons to each bank. There are some banks that are internal to Paraguay and they don't do any international stuff. And there are some banks that international stuff, but they're harder to qualify for because it's a nightmare. Paperwork is a nightmare in Paraguay, similar to Dubai. Do you trust any American banks? No, you shouldn't trust any banks. Not just American banks, any Western banks. Don't keep any long-term cash in any American bank. Only operational cash. All right, last question. I got to go. Do you encrypt things that are business sensitive or personally sensitive? Both. Whatever is sensitive, I encrypt it. And I don't go put on the cloud. It doesn't matter what it is. How do you manage things like shared Trello or Notion boards that may be biz sensitive but shared? Thanks, CJ. You can't. That's on the cloud. Therefore, you cannot assume that it's private. What I said at the very beginning of this, perfect place to end this. If you put it on the cloud, if you use a cloud service, you must assume it's not private. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of the world we live in. And you're going to get less private as time goes on. Privacy will probably go away in a few years, as I talked about in a prior live stream. So if it's Trello, Trello's an online app. So nothing on Trello I would consider private, ever. If you want a Notion board, use some kind of local that is not, no one sees, then put on your local hard drive as a local app. But then you can't share it, right? Yeah. See the problem? Right. Our business is a mental health facility, which obviously will not go well in the US at some point. Well, I like mental health. I don't like that it's location dependent. That's the problem. Are you aware of any countries that hand off that mental health services? What? Are you aware of any countries offhand, that value mental health services? The United States values mental health. The country's collapsing. You have a lot of business, right? You need to convert your business to something location dependent, and then work with high stress countries like the United States, London. Yeah, it's fine. Just make it location dependent. All right. www.caleb.top/freedom for the book and the training course. If you just want the training course, which you'll also get the book, www.caleb.top/ff-training. Your deadline is Friday. And those of you looking at Alpha 2.0 Apex, your deadline is today, like tonight, like get on it ASAP. There's a WhatsApp and SMS phone number on that website you can use to ask me questions before you sign up. But get that done today because that's your deadline. Cool? Cool. All right. I'll see you guys. Those of you interested, I'll see you at Alpha 2.0 on Wednesday. Bye.